Hi everyone, welcome. It's day 3 of the Nourished and Free Habit Building Challenge. And today is quite a big day because we're looking at our habit triggers. Preceding every habit is a trigger. Most of us don't actually think of this or know this, but once we start to dive into today's worksheets, you're going to start to understand what are the triggers toward the habits that you are doing that you might not necessarily want. So habits that are not serving you, that are not nourishing, that don't feel good to you. We have to understand what our triggers are. Even good habits, quote unquote good habits, have a trigger before they happen. So when you're going through today's worksheets, really take your time and think about your habits and what the triggers look like. So the first thing you're going to do is write out about how it felt yesterday. So I know I asked you to post that in the Facebook group or in the Wholehearted Woman group. Facebook is just so ingrained in my brain for so many years. In the Wholehearted Woman platform. And I want you to kind of do that again and write it down in today's worksheets, just because it's good to start to understand ourselves better and understand our habits better. And taking the time to write those things out and noticing what we felt, noticing what came up while we're taking our habit inventory. Maybe, so someone shared in the Wholehearted Woman group, excuse me, it's just so ingrained in my brain, in the Wholehearted Woman group, that she noticed she had more good behaviors than she thought she would. So that was a positive as she went through each category in part 1 and part 2, day 1 and day 2, that she actually had more good habits than she thought. So that was really a really cool insight into doing the worksheets on day 1 and day 2. So you may notice that yourself, or you may notice that you have more quote unquote bad habits that you want to break, or that have been unconscious or subconscious, like the way you talk to yourself, right? I talked a lot about that yesterday, that becomes the inner critic becomes habitual, the way we speak to ourselves. So today there's a few steps to your worksheets. So first, you're gonna get day 1 and day 2 worksheets. You're gonna reference back to them. And then you're gonna circle 3 habits you most want to change. And then you're gonna write that below in the first space where it says 1, 2, and 3. So the 3 habits that you most want to change. Then you're gonna pick one out of those 3 habits. I know this is hard, but just for the sake of today and what we're doing, let's pick one that we most want to change. And we're gonna write it in the space here in our worksheets. From there, we're going to go into the triggers. We're going to start to look at what are the feelings, what are the time of day, what are the sounds, what are the places that cause the trigger of the habit. And I give examples of this in the worksheets so that you're not confused when you're doing it. So you're going to write the habit down, then you're going to go through each example or each trigger. So basically feelings. What are the feelings that come up before this habit happens? What's the time of day? So for a lot of people, it's snacking at night. So it would be the evening, right? What are the sounds? Oh, turning on the TV. That triggers that I want to snack at night. Or the smells, or people that are around you. So if you have a habit of eating ice cream every night with your partner, and that's a way you feel like you bond, that's a trigger too. And triggers don't necessarily have to be bad. They're just a precursor to a habit. And that's how we actually learn to change the habit, is by understanding the precursor, the trigger that happens. What are the places? So the second I sit on the sofa, that's when I want my glass of wine. When I turn on the TV, that's the sound. So there's all kinds of different things that happen before an actual habit kicks in, right? So for a lot of people in the morning with the coffee habit, it's like the first thing we do is get up, we turn off the alarm, we put on our robe or whatever we do in the morning, and then we go to the kitchen and have the coffee, right? Because we think that we need the coffee to wake us up because we've gotten in such a habit with it. But the truth is, you actually really don't need it. All you're doing is, and I know a lot of you are going to hate me for saying this, but all you're doing is actually depleting your energy by giving yourself false energy. So coffee over time, and this is a whole separate thing that I do in my work with people, is talk about food and the effect it has on our bodies and all of that. But coffee over time does deplete our energy. It releases a lot of cortisol in our system, which is the stress hormone. It can cause weight gain and blood sugar imbalances and all that. But that's for another time. I'm planting a seed. So you want to go through what the habit is you most want to change, what your triggers are. So what were the feelings? What are the time of day? Maybe you have an afternoon snacking habit, right? Where it's like, after lunch, it's like 3 o'clock, there's a little bit of lull in the office. Maybe you have like a kitchen in your office if you go to work somewhere and you hear people in there, and that's a trigger. So I know for me, it's like, I get this little bit of afternoon slump. It's more of a feeling, and I'm like, oh, I'm kind of dragging. So I'm like, oh, I want to go eat something to pick me up, right? So the trigger is feeling tired, feeling just in a slump. That's my trigger for that afternoon snack. And sometimes if I catch myself and go, oh, I'm tired, I can go meditate for 10 minutes or take a few deep breaths, or like go outside and sit outside for a little bit and give myself a break from my computer or whatever. And that re-energizes me versus needing to eat if I'm not actually physically hungry. So we actually do a lot of things that, especially with food, when we're not physically hungry, it becomes habitual for us to eat. And there's many triggers that lead up to that we often don't pay attention to. So, one of the women inside my Wholehearted membership, Chris, she shared on the boards that she has a nighttime snacking habit. And she said, as long as I have gum and pop it in my mouth. And I said, that's an avoidance tactic. You really want to look at what's happening to lead up to the nighttime snacking. You're not going to change the behavior by popping gum in your mouth. That's just an avoidance tactic. And a lot of us in the diet world have learned to chew gum instead of eat to take away that hunger, but actually it causes the opposite effect because it gets our digestion going, and then we have nothing to digest because we're just chewing gum and no food in our system. So it actually is really hard on the system when that happens. So I'm just sharing something about chewing gum as well. Who knew I was going to get into all these nutritional tips? So take time with this today. I want you to pick the one habit. And if there's more than one, you can go through this process a few times. But this is the bulk of what I teach inside my 8-week habit building program. This is a big key component, and I'm giving it to you for free here. We go way deeper into this inside the program. We start to really understand our triggers, how to change our triggers, and how to build habits. And we're going to get more in day 4 and day 5, starting to get into the foundational pieces of building the habits. So really take your time with this today. Think about your habit that you want to change, the one that you want to change just for right now. We're working on one just for the sake of this challenge. I don't want you to be overwhelmed. I don't want you to just give up because it feels too overwhelming. And there's a lot of people that signed up for this challenge that have not been showing up. And so I'm wondering, is that a habit, right? We sign up for things, we don't show up. Are we not used to showing up for ourselves? Is that a habit? And so we can't show up for something we sign up for? And I'm just curious about that, and I'm bringing that forward. Do you do that in your life? I'm just wondering. So again, take the time with this. Post in the Facebook group under the day 3 pinned post what your habit is and what the triggers are. I'd love to hear that so that I can make comments on that and we can talk about it. I can share a little bit more about it tomorrow. And just, again, go through this worksheet. If you have any questions, please post them. I'm sorry, I keep saying Facebook. I did it for so many years. It's so ingrained in me. It's a hard habit to break, right? It's a habit. And the trigger is me coming on live video talking about a group, right? A group interaction and posting. And whenever I think posting, I think Facebook, social media. That's a habit, right? So that's something I'm going to work on breaking. And I've been working on breaking it. But the more I go live, the more I'll have the opportunity, the trigger to help break that habit. Please forgive me. Anyway, so post in the Wholehearted Woman group, and then I will be back live tomorrow. So just so you know, day 5 training is going to be a little bit longer because I'm going to be going more in depth into the habit building process. And I'm also going to be sharing about my 8-week group and how you can get access to that. And I'm going to be offering some awesome bonuses and discounts for that so that you can jump in. And we're starting at the end of October for that group, and it's 8 weeks. It'll take you right up until the holidays. So you're going to be so solidified with good habits so that when you move into the holidays, it's not even going to be an issue. You're going to feel really solid in your foundation within yourself. Okay, thanks for joining me today, everyone. I look forward to seeing you again tomorrow. And don't forget to post in The Wholehearted Woman. Download your worksheets, print them out, and spend some time tonight or whenever you have free time today. Make 15 or 20 minutes to fill these out. Don't let the habit of not showing up for yourself be an issue because you signed up for this challenge. All right, take care, everybody. Bye. How do I get out of here?